there, Marie Greene from Olive Knits here, and for today's Knitting Rescue 911, we're going to talk about how to fix a dropped stitch. I'm going to show you two different ways to fix them because they can happen a little differently and you might need an extra little technique depending on which kind you're trying to fix. So first things first, in this example, you can see all the little ladder rungs all the way down where the stitch fell off of the strands. This is really easy to fix with a crochet hook. I like the simple little metal crochet hooks that have sort of a pointy little tip because that makes them easy to use. And to fix this stitch and get it right back up on the needles, I just insert my crochet hook right through the center legs of the stitch and then grab the rung above it and just bring it through the stitch. And if you're not used to using a crochet hook, my goodness, they're so handy for knitting and you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. But see how I'm turning it to make it easier to grab and pull it through. And I'm trying to be really cautious about my tension. I'm not too worried about this crochet hook having to be exactly the same size as my knitting needles, but if you're finding that your stitches are getting really loose or really tight and you can't get the consistency in your tension, then you might adjust this hook so that it is the same as your knitting needles. Now I just slid it right onto my left needle, and now you can see I have restored the stitch and it's like it never even happened. Now let me show you what happens when you've dropped a stitch and that whole section gets sealed up and it's a little bit harder to see those little ladder rungs. So hang tight. All right, so here is another example. And in this one, the stitch got dropped down the way, but I kept knitting because I didn't notice that it was dropped. And you notice you don't really see the section with the little ladder rungs where it's really obvious. So what you'll want to do is sort of pull apart those stitches a little bit so you can create those little ladder rungs so you have a place to pick up the stitch. Now to fix it, I'm going to work my way over to the stitch just in front of where the stitch was dropped, and then that way I have a nice area to pick that up and get it back on my left needle. All right, I've worked my way to the spot and you can tell we're just going to have to kind of train those little bars so that they are where we need them, and then we can pick up the stitch. And we want to make sure we're going through the front of the stitch. So this stitch shouldn't be crossed. It should just be a nice little loop, and we go right through the center and then just pick up each rung of the ladder in order. Now, when a drop stitch happens like this, it can create just a little tighter tension in that area, but don't worry too much because once you get going and you block it, it will even itself out and you won't really notice that it happens. So it'll be fine. I'm all the way to the top, grab that last one, and then just insert the tip of my left needle. And now it's off the hook. You can tell those stitches are a little smaller because there wasn't any extra slack there for them and we kind of had to borrow from the stitches next to it. But like I said, once you get going, you'll barely notice it's even there. If you love learning new knitting tricks and tips, make sure to like and follow me here on YouTube so you will be the first to know when new videos are available.